Urban Fitness Friday Focus. Happy Bank Holiday Friday, everybody. So today we're going to do around we've been getting a lot of questions in for the Friday Focus, but a lot of the questions that are coming in, they are short answers and they sort of don't warrant their own Friday Focus. So we've picked out about 7 of them questions today, and what we're going to do is we're going to go through those in sort of a quick fire round, and hopefully we can get them answered for you. As I said, we do make it our business to get to all the questions that come in, so please keep them coming. So the first one is what to eat before exercise. Again, this is totally case specific, but if you are going to eat before exercise, usually what I recommend to people is a protein shake and a banana. It's just a nice simple carbohydrate source with some protein. It's really easy to get into, and it's quick enough to digest. Again, it's totally case specific. If you're going first thing in the morning, or if you're going to have a resistance training session or a strength training session, you don't want to have a ton of fat with that beforehand, because it's going to slow down digestion and slow down the use of those fuels. But generally, you want to try and get a small bit of carbohydrate and a protein source into you. Are all fruits and vegetables healthy? Yes. I suppose fruits you've got to be careful with because they contain a lot of sugar, and if your main objective is weight loss, and you've got to make sure they're factored into your overall calorie intake, etc. But for the most part, all fruits and vegetables are healthy, or what are considered healthy. What should I do if I'm hungry between meals on a diet? So, a strategy we've looked at before with people is that if they're hungry on meals, say you've got 3 main meals programmed into your diet or your nutrition plan, whatever you want to call it, and then you have a couple of snacks, but it's still not enough. You still find yourself hungry between meals. What we've done before is maybe split one of them main meals into 2, and have maybe an hour and a half between them, or you can split even 2 of those meals into 2 servings. Instead of eating the whole meal at one sitting, split it into 2, spread it out throughout the day. Particularly if you find yourself being more hungry or really struggling with hunger on a particular diet. But again, if you are on a what's called a diet, I suppose, and you do find you're hungry a lot of the time, make sure you have a look at what your actual goal is and that the calories are matching up to what your goal is, and make sure you are eating enough. Where are we at? Is it true that I shouldn't eat carbs in the evening? You absolutely can eat carbohydrates in the evening. The main thing with carbohydrates is carbohydrates, I've said before on the Friday Focus, they get a bad rap, but they're actually a really important food source when they're used correctly and in the right amounts. So with your carbohydrates, you've just got to make sure you're eating enough carbohydrates to fuel the type of training or the type of lifestyle that you're living. And if you've done that appropriately, whether you have them in the morning time or in the evening time or in the daytime, it doesn't really make a difference as long as they tie into that overall plan. So yes, you can eat carbohydrates in the evening. Can I replace white sugar with honey or sweeteners? If you have to, I wouldn't use honey, first of all, because obviously there's a ton of sugar in there. It's in itself and a ton of calories. A sweetener that a lot of people are having good success with and use and recommend you use is stevia, I suppose, if you're going to replace it with a sweetener. But for the most part, if you can get by without the sweetener, try your very best to do that. But if it's a must, probably use something like stevia or along them lines. Try not use honey or anything like that. So where are we at? Which is better, machines or free weights? Again, for many years, I suppose, in the fitness industry, machines got a bad rap, and people was suggesting, oh, you can only do free weights and yada yada. But what I would say about machines and free weights are, again, it's totally case specific. For the most part, at Urban Fitness, we would use free weight movements, basically because we haven't got a ton of machines, and we're trying to promote more movement in the population of people that we train rather than people. So we have a lot of people who come to us from desk jobs, and I suppose our philosophy is, look, if you sit down at work, we want to try and make you move as much as possible at the gym. But if your goal at the gym, if you're a bodybuilder, if you're looking to put on as much muscle mass as possible, machines 100% have a place, and they're very useful and effective in that scenario. So yes, there's not a case of which one is better. It's totally dependent on, it's totally goal specific, and which one will actually come out there. Things I should track to make sure I'm improving. So again, this is a pretty general question, and it's totally dependent on what you're trying to achieve that will determine what you should track to make sure you're improving. So obviously, if you've got a fat loss goal, tracking your weight and your body fat measurements is going to be key there to make sure you are actually making improvements. If you're tracking strength or you're trying to improve strength, obviously tracking your numbers and having testing phases put into your programming every quarter or every third of the year to make sure you actually are progressing or getting towards your goal. If your main goal is to improve fitness, you should be doing some type of repeatable fitness testing, easy repeatable fitness testing, where therefore, like if your goal is to run a marathon, you should be tracking your times. If your goal is to get better at a 2,000 meter concept 2 row, you should probably be tracking your average per 500 meters. So again, it's totally dependent on what you're actually trying to achieve, what you will track to make sure you are getting better. But you should always track something and make sure that whatever you're tracking it accurately, and then that test to track is actually repeatable every time and it's the same test. As always, guys, please keep your questions coming in for the Friday Focus. Happy Bank Holiday weekend to everybody, and we'll see you next week.